When you think about it, you need very little resources in order to just get one paying client. And one client takes you from a hobby to a hustle. Like $1.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, episode 109. This is Tracy Matthews, your host today, and the Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy. I love bringing you this podcast every single week because it's just a pleasure, not only to just jam about jewelry business stuff and stepping into the role of visionary for your company, but to also bring on really amazing guests. And today's guest is someone really special. In fact, I only met her a couple months ago, but I feel like I've been friends with her for a long time. She is awesome at what she does. She's a fireball of energy, and you're going to love what we're talking about today. For all of you side hustlers out there, we're going to be diving in deep with Susie Moore because she is the expert on how to run a side hustle jewelry business. And the reason why I'm excited about having Susie today is because she started her own side hustle, quit her job where she was making over $500 grand a year. Can you imagine that? At the mere age of 30, the girl's a youngin', and was just rocking it out. So I'm excited to have her on the show to talk about how you can put a lot of energy into maybe potentially turning your side hustle into a full-time business. Or if that's not your goal, no big deal. We love you guys who just want to do this on the side as well. How to make your side hustle just a little bit more easy for you to run and more profitable for you so that you're actually making money. That's something you want to do on the side with your jewelry business. So here's a little bit about Susie. Susie is a life coach author based in New York City. She's the creator of Side Hustle Academy, the Side Hustle Made Simple, as well as an advisor to tech startups. Her work has been featured on The Today Show, Forbes, Marie Claire, and more. So this is going to be a great episode today. You guys are going to love it. Before I dive in, though, I want to take a word from our sponsor. So for those of you who are doing your side hustle business, you might also be having an Etsy shop. And I've heard a lot of you guys over and over and over again saying, hey, I'm not getting traffic to my Etsy shop, or Etsy changed the algorithm and I don't know why people aren't buying. And I used to have so many sales. Etsy, things are changing. So I know a lot of you side hustlers out there on the side have this Etsy shop and you're trying to grow your business by selling on Etsy. Well, today's sponsor is Whatify. Whatify is an amazing tool for all you Etsy sellers. That is basically, it provides automated photo testing for Etsy sellers. So it's A/B split testing where you can test your photos against each other. This is technology that Google and companies like Amazon and Netflix have been using for years. So it's super awesome. And it's something that we actually use here over at Flourish and Thrive Academy. And it's an important thing for you to be taking advantage of too. So here's how it works. Whatify offers automated photo testing for Etsy sellers. It's proven to increase your traffic by 10% for the average Etsy seller, and even for some, a lot more than that. And it's automated and easy. The entire process of getting set up, getting results, and implementing them just takes a few minutes of your time. And the coolest part is that Whatify was started by a professor, a designer, and an MBA, all driven by the idea that data analytics should be used not only for big companies, but to also help everyone to reach their audience. So I would love for you to check this out. Head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/Whatify. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/Whatify. When you head on over there, you'll get a free trial and you can check out and see what it's all about. It's pretty cool. All right, let's dive into today's episode. Hey designers, it's Tracy here, and I am so thrilled to have a very special guest on the Thrive by Design show today. I'm here with Susie Moore, and I'm really excited to have Susie on the show. Susie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Tracy. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm so excited. So Susie and I met at a 7 or 8, we're still not sure how old our first kid is, but 7 or 8 year old's birthday party a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month or two ago. Anyway, when I met her, I was just like, oh my God, I love you. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I thought is you have such great energy. I have to have you on the show. And then when I found out what her specialty was, I was even more in love because it's something that I think you guys are going to be really excited about. So
woo-hoo.
Yeah. So when our friend Selena actually introduced us, she said, you guys are going to be best friends. I could tell you're already going to like each other. And Susie's just great. So welcome, Susie. Thanks so much for being here.
I'm so excited to talk to you, Tracy, about this really exciting topic.
This exciting topic that we haven't revealed yet. But
Mm-hmm.
today it's all about making your side hustle business successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this topic, especially when I knew that Susie was an expert in how to create a successful side hustle and sort of test your idea before you bring it to market.
Mm-hmm.
And for jewelry designers, I know a lot of you have full-time jobs and you're trying to do a jewelry business on the side and you're struggling to get it off the ground. So what better person than to have Susie here? So Susie, I would love to learn just a little bit more about your journey, why you're passionate about side hustle businesses, and kind of what got you to this point.
Yes. So I became obsessed with side hustles once I started my own. It was actually less than 3 years ago. I was a Fortune 500 sales director at a very big company. And look, I loved it. Well, I loved it to a point. I mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
Could have certainly have kept going. But around when I turned 30, I thought to myself, is this going to be my life's work?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't make a change, if I'm not proactive in my life, the years will just go by and I will still have my dreams and my goals and just kind of my job to show for it. And they weren't aligned. So I went to NYU, I studied life coaching, and I started writing very actively to attract clients. And that just really grew to a successful business, which has now scaled a lot, allowing me to leave my job just before even 18 months was up with my side hustle. So I've been working now full time for 2.5 years for myself, and I love it.
Awesome.
And ever since I did that, everyone asked me about it. How do you do it? How do you do it? So a topic that I feel like I really need to teach and share because it's a lot easier than you think.
It is. And I'm so excited about this because I don't even think I told you this, but when I started my jewelry business, my first company, I was doing it on the side for about 5 years before I went full time. And it was awesome because some years, there were a lot of times when I was busy and there was life stuff going on. Like I got married and I moved to a new city. So that sort of, I had to kind of put the business a little bit on the side burner. I don't want to say the back burner, but it wasn't like totally the front burner at the time. But like sometimes even back then in the 90s, I was making like 20 grand extra dollars a year just selling jewelry on the side. And that might not seem like a lot these days, but it's for a lot of people, that's a significant chunk of change. So
significant.
Significant.
For some people, I mean, depending on the statistics you listen to, like the average household income in the US is like around 40,000.
Yeah,
so, I mean, that's a tremendous amount of money, depending on where you are and what your goal is.
Yeah,
and there's no reason not to do it.
There's no reason not to do it. So I want to start off with a fun question, or at least I think it's fun.
Yep. Yeah.
So what are some of the benefits of starting off, like especially for jewelry designers? There's the idea and the passion, and they want to make a business out of it. What are some of the benefits of starting it off as like sort of a side business or a side gig instead of going full-time straight out of the gate?
There are so many. So number one, it's risk-free. Like when you think about it, there is no risk. You keep your paycheck, you keep your benefits, you really keep everything that your 9 to 5 gives you while really testing this proof of concept. Sometimes I think people have this, idea that they need to get out a big loan or take a really, risk and make a leap. But that's just not true. Like Nielsen says that the average American watches 36 hours of TV a week, right?
Wow.
So think about that. Even if you just halved that, you would have so many hours, 16, 17 hours a week to work on a passion project, work on a business.
Yeah.
So you need your free time you get to fulfill your kind of creative potential. You also, the way that I think about it is when you have a boss and one revenue stream in your life, you're not hedged against a very uncertain economy. I mean, there's no job security anymore, Tracy. I think most people are really around to that. But also when you're in a job and that's your only source of income, one person, your boss, can ruin your life. They have so much power over you. It's like one person in a bad mood means that you're in a bad mood. I mean, you put all of your eggs creatively, financially, spiritually in one basket, and you don't have to. I mean, there's no such thing as a fixed income. You fix it. There is tremendous possibility if you just open up your mind to what's possible out there. And there's never been an easier or better time to be an entrepreneur.
That's amazing because you said two things that I thought were really awesome in that last little snippet of things. First of all, a lot of people want to like put a Band-Aid on the solution or finance their business without like really thinking it through. And I don't think getting like funding or financing for your business is always like a good idea at all. I mean, I know from personal experience that getting in that trap of where you like have to like use credit cards or lines of credit or loans to like get your business off the ground it's a bad idea because like, if you don't strategically think about how you're going to pay that off, like you could be in a lot of trouble at some point.
Absolutely. And you don't need the pressure. Think about it. You can be
No.
you can be your own patron. You can be, your job can be a VC for your business. That's how I thought about it. I thought my job when I'm showing up every day and getting on a plane and doing my meetings, I'm like, I'm my own investor and I don't answer to anyone. There's no one else wanting to look at my P&L. It's me. And being independent and self-funded gives you a tremendous amount of power and freedom.
And the other thing that you said that is like seriously my mantra is that there is really no job security these days. Like it's way more secure, I feel like, to be really strategic and have your own business and focus on growing your own business because you have an opportunity to control your destiny and control your income.
Yeah, actually, not long after I resigned from my job full time, like 600 people were laid off in 2 different rounds. And I mean, it not that I needed any affirmation, any confirmation I did the right thing, but I mean, just there you go. And the years go by, the market's shrinking. I mean, if you even go down to Wall Street right now, Tracy, so many of those buildings are empty.
I know. In my neighborhood, they are too. It's kind of scary. Like all the retail shops closing and not to, make anyone like panic that like there's like gloom and doom. Like people are still buying stuff. It's just they're buying in a different way. So, especially for our designers who are selling selling a product. I know not to freak you out. But it's just about being innovative and sort of changing the way you think about commerce. And I think that that's huge and something that can be done at the side. So we have a ton of designers who in our community who have side jewelry businesses. They're trying to get them off the ground. They're pulling them off, but they have there's one of 2 struggles that keep coming up over and over again. It's like how to finance the business. We sort of briefly talked about that. And the other one is having enough time to actually pull it off. And you kind of briefly touched on that. So I want to hear a little bit more, if you wouldn't mind going into a little bit more detail about how you coach people to kind of get through those things.
So the first thing, with the money, often people think I need a lot of money to start a business, right?
Yeah.
Depending on your type of business, that could be true if you require a lot of people or if you have a really, complex product to build. But in most cases, you can really get started with $0, right? So for example, if you're a coach, you get 1 client because you're giving your time, you're giving your expertise, right? I'll give a couple of examples of people of my clients and students. And one's a personal branding expert. She teaches over Skype, right? One lady is a lady who designs jewelry and sells it on Etsy, and she is an accountant in her full-time job. Right?
Oh, she's an accountant full-time.
She's an accountant, awesome. Yes. Also, another lady's a matchmaker.
Ooh.
Right? So when you think about it, you need very little resources in order to just get 1 paying client, and 1 client takes you from a hobby to a hustle. $1, really, that's it. And then you take that money and you invest it back, get a website. Forget about a glamorous photo shoot. Forget about getting an expensive designed website off the bat. You don't need that. You might not even want your business in a year, right? So don't invest all this money up front. You just want to focus on getting clients one by one. In fact, another one of my clients, Amanda in London, she has a stationery business. And she created just 4 to 5 samples. She said she spent like £25, very little. She created her own samples, sent those samples around, and then got orders before she created any more. So you don't create 300 items and then try and ship them. You create very simple, very, very basic, very, very little money, get orders and then fulfill them. And you get clients and then receive the cash flow and then you can invest back. You don't throw money into it because, again, this is no risk. We want to keep it simple and easy.
That's such a good point because I think I have a custom jewelry business. So I'm getting, I have like a little bit of upfront cost, but until I land the client, like I'm not spending any money. And I like it that way because I'm able to stay really profitable. I'm not like in a cash flow pinch, all the time trying to finance the business. But when I had a wholesale company and I was selling to stores, what we did was we started with like a sample line. And sometimes you have to buy a little bit of inventory and stuff to kind of get things off the ground or make sure that you can get the supplies. But if you are strategic about how you're designing and thinking about your product line, all you need to do is, as long as you can get supplies fairly quickly, is to create 1 piece of each thing, photograph it beautifully, sell it, show people samples if you're selling to stores. If you're just on Etsy or whatever, have those pieces photographed. And then you have some lead time, just get the order first and then have the piece made.
That's it. And funnily enough, actually, a couple of my clients who work with this similar model, they say that their clients tell them that they love the custom nature of having to wait too for something because it feels special.
Yeah.
And when it arrives, it's like, oh, my custom made piece. So, I mean, really, it can be much simpler than you think. And then moving on to the time piece, I mean, this comes up. It's probably one of the biggest objections. But what I say is, I mean, it never changes. It's never a question of time. It's a question of priorities. Right.
Exactly.
Like if you have a kid in your life, you'll feed that kid even if you're busy. If you have a job to get to, you'll get there. If you love workout, you'll make time for that in your week. If it's a priority for you, the same with your hustle. I mean, everyone has 24 hours a day. I always say, you, me, Beyonce, right? Everybody.
Yeah.
and Beyonce ain't eating Doritos on the couch watching, replays of stuff. Like she's doing her thing. So it's just a matter of allocating hours to what matters to you. And actually, I love what Stephen Covey says. He wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said, don't prioritize your schedule your priorities. So
oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. So the way that I schedule, or I used to, because now my business is full time, but I would schedule like hustle time in my calendar, and it was non-negotiable. One meeting, a doctor's appointment, and a meeting at work in my day job, and it would be like 10 to 2 on Saturday or 3 to 5 on Sunday, and that was it. That was my priority.
Only hustle time. Well, I love that because we teach designers here, it's like 3 priorities a day. Don't do anything else until those things are done, and then move on to the rest of the stuff. And all those things are supposed to be the things that kind of move your business forward. And if you're doing it on the side, maybe it's not a daily thing, but if you're scheduling time in the weekend during the evenings, or on the weekend, that's when you are focusing on it, right?
Yes, absolutely. And each of these hours, these chunks of time, they build up to a business. They create a business, You think small in order to get the big stuff.
Yeah. And then one day, the cool part is that one day there's like this tipping point where you're like, okay, well, if I just spent more time, I have this really great story. I think you're going to love it. I actually have a call with her later because she's in our mastermind. But my friend, Jennifer Serrallo, she has a jewelry business called Blooming Lotus Jewelry. Long story short, she was like searching on Twitter for someone to design an engagement ring. Back in the day, this is probably like 8 years ago. Twitter's like a random place to find a designer. But somehow she came across me. She started tweeting at me. We connected on Facebook. We talked about an engagement ring, and then we just became Facebook friends and all that stuff. That's another story. But the point of this is that we ended up going on this trip to Bali together. And she was telling me, I knew that she designed yoga jewelry, and she was telling me that she just did it on the nights and the weekends. And I said, well, how's it going? She's like, well, I'm selling $2,000 a month, and her price points are pretty low, like $30 via Instagram. So, I mean, that's like a lot of volume for someone doing it as a side hustle.
Yeah.
But she was really strategic. And I was like, well, why aren't you doing this like full time or scheduling more time to do it? Because I bet you if you just let go a couple days of work, then you could probably, double the amount that you were selling. So I somehow convinced her. I mean, she convinced herself too. I mean, I have to give her credit because it's her business and whatever. But, we're sitting on this trip in Bali. I'm like, I really think you should maybe cut your schedule down. Like we're kind of talking about her work schedule because she'd really wanted to follow this passion. So she went down to 3 days a week working at her job and the rest of the time spent on her jewelry business. So of course her sales totally increased. Then she cut down to 2 days a week. Then she at a certain point cut down to 1 day a week working her job. And at that point I was like, Jennifer, why are you working 1 day a week? It's like so dumb. She's like, yeah, I guess you're right. So she went full time. And then launched out of the gate, had an amazing year, had like one of the best summer seasons ever. And it just goes to show you, it's like, I think for some people, when you put a lot of effort into what you're passionate about and you're committed, right? And you want to get it done, then the needle moves really quickly. But I think that sometimes the reason why people are held back is because they're hanging on to what they think is security when if they really went full in, whether it's a side hustle or the full-time thing, however you're doing it, the results would come so much faster.
It's really true. And I love that story because it shows that it can be gradual. It doesn't have to dramatic shift. You wake up one morning and you change your life. No, it can be sensible. It can feel safe and it can just happen naturally, almost like that's such an organic transition. There are no wrong roads to anywhere, right? The way that you do it. And the possibilities are there once you just get started. So great story. I really like that.
Thanks. I like it too. So I share it occasionally, but it's a good one. I felt like it worked with this,
absolutely. Yeah.
This is like a common theme. They sit down to focus on their business, designers in my community, and especially the ones who are doing this on the side, but even some of the ones who are doing it full time, and they get really overwhelmed because they don't know where to start. So do you have any productivity tips for designers so they know how to prioritize where to start first?
So this is an interesting one. I love this question because it also kind of ties into the timing thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to not knowing where to start, often this is just an excuse, right? It's like, oh, but I don't know where to start. Oh, but I don't have time. Oh, but I don't have money. And it's like, no, you don't just wake up one morning with a great business, right? You need to do I always say focus on the money first, especially in the early stages. So the priority is definitely to get paying clients for your product or service. So if you think about it, my goal in the beginning was just to if I get 10 coaching clients, I'm a legit life coach. I'm like, I'll be busy and I'll be seasoned and I'll have all sorts of different experiences that I've managed and coach people through. So it's like, what do you need to do to get clients? Is that what your priority is? Or do you already have clients and you now need some systems to help you with support so you're freed up to attract more and work in your zone of genius? Or do you have no web presence? Everything's running offline. You need some automation and you need just to really kind of build your online brand. You need to identify what needs the attention, right? Is it money? Is it tech? Is it branding? Really, where is your area for development? And then think, what do I need? And then just break down any big task into small tasks. Every big thing is achieved through a lot of different small steps, right? And that's really how also success is just a series of small wins, like daily wins or weekly wins. So identify where it is that you need to focus. And often, Tracy, most people will say not clients because they're scared.
I know. Let's talk about that.
They're scared. So I'm not joking. I've met so many people who come into my program who have a website, an LLC. They have, literally everything, a line of credit, even they have all sorts of things set up and no business, right? Because they've been procrastinating on putting out there that they're available for hire for this or for that. And so they have everything set up, or they've got 300 blog posts that haven't been published, all these gorgeous photos for their website that they're going to create, some of the Instagram channel. So the most important, you don't have a business unless you have people paying you. And you don't have a good business. You don't have a good business unless you're profitable. And everyone focuses, I've noticed increasingly, especially in online businesses, they always speak about their gross profit, right? So what they make in their business top line. And really what we care about is the take home, right? The net. So the most important thing is to be generating clients at a profit for your business, right? Number one, right? Think about it like an accountant, right? What's worth your time?
It's not an expensive hobby. It's a business.
Yes, exactly. And there are so many expensive hobbies out there. It's heartbreaking because with a few tweaks, with a shift, it can be completely different. It could be the opposite. So the most important thing is to have paying clients. And with that, you just have to understand that confidence is something you just need to harness. You have to decide that you have it. You have to remember that it's more important than competence in a lot of ways. And just really understand that managing your mindset is critical to your success as a business owner.
Absolutely. And I remember when we were sitting down having a glass of wine, you're like, are you listening to Abraham Hicks? And it had been a long time since I had been listening to Abraham Hicks, and I'd read a bunch of books and all that stuff. So after our meeting, I downloaded the app because I'm so obsessed with mindset. I meditate nearly every day. Sometimes I slack, but I do yoga and all this stuff, but it's just a really good reminder because it doesn't matter how successful you are. You're always going to hit upper limits in life. And it's important to always be working on that confidence container to help keep you resilient and strong, and to let the stuff that's not working out just roll off so that you can move on. Because what I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen this with your clients too, is that people feel like everything has to be perfect before they present it out into the world. I've also seen the reverse where they're just slopping random stuff out there. But, a lot of times I feel like what's holds people back is they're like, I'm not a good salesperson. I'm not whatever. One of the things I remember from working with my buyers over the years and getting into stores like Anthropologie and ABC Home and Bloomingdale's and all these amazing accounts, the Sundance catalog over the years, is that all those accounts, I was the one working with the buyer, not my sales reps or anyone else. Because the buyers, especially at that, even at that level, really like to work with designers. And even at a direct to consumer level, people want to meet the artists. If you're at a show or you're selling on your website, they want to talk to you because they want to know your inspiration. So if you could just figure out how to get out of your sort of shell that's holding you back. And it's almost wait, what's Beyonce, since we talked about Beyonce earlier, what is her, Sasha Fierce, she has her little, her little alter ego, make up an alter ego or something and pretend like you're someone else.
Interestingly, so I tell my clients this, just say, using the example of a life coach, if there is a life coach who is average, right? Pretty good, not the best, but they'll do okay, an average life coach. And there is an exceptional life coach, like Tony Robbins-esque, like you can shake your life, can, make people see things clearly and bring clarity and, motivation. You can have the best gift in the world, the best talent for anything, but it's worth nothing if you're not using it. You may as well not have it, right?
Exactly.
It is tragic for that to be the case.
Yes.
So, and so many people too, they tell me, oh, I know, but I know I can do that. I know I have that potential. I know I have the capacity to do that. So it's like the best way to do it is to do it. We could talk about getting started forever, and we could talk about, the benefits of it, and get ready and warm up. And look, there are some people I admit, like, they will go through a program, they'll have a coach, and they still won't ever launch. They won't get there.
They won't do it. Yeah.
And sadly, I see some of the most talented people do that. And it makes me, the frustration, I have to get them. Yeah. What can you do? But I know this kind of perfectionism. I love what I heard about perfectionism. I think Liz Gilbert said that it's perfectionism is just fear dressed up as a high standard. So it's, it's our obligation to make things real, to make things happen.
Absolutely. And, I always say this because I've shared the story like a bunch of times with my audience, but when I was doing trade shows back in the day, there was this new designer that came on the scene, and she was a PR person before. So she had tons of confidence and tons of outreach, but her product wasn't really that great. But when the shows came around, she got like amazing placement because she was able to negotiate it. She wasn't afraid to put herself out there. She had a line outside her booth, and she had tons of celebrities wearing her jewelry, and the jewelry wasn't even that great. I was just kind of like, oh, well, whatever. I don't understand why people like it. But, it just goes to show you, it's not necessarily like how talented you are. It's your willingness to take action. So when talent and your willingness to take action, like, merge, like, it's like golden. You can just like totally have this like really strong kind of platform to just bounce off of, because you can get out there.
It's actually magical. And so, like, having a sales background, I have been thankful for that, because it has been my job to sell things to people who don't want it. And so, I'm okay with rejection. I'm okay with, starting again, managing a funnel, and, speaking about things. But there are also tricks to that, and so much, again, of it is just, the power of expectation. I always think to myself, oh, I've got a product launch coming up, or I have a new program I want to share with people. I'm like, it'll do well. Yeah, I'll get people. I'll fill that. I'll meet my goal. It's just what happens in the privacy of your own mind. Actually, Ariana Huffington said to me once, I wish people had tape recorders so we could record back the things we say to ourselves, because they're so mean. And I'm like, so I'm really conscious of that. I'm like, do I want to replay, this sentence in my head, or do I want to be like, oh, it's going to work out? The name of my book is What If It Does Work Out?
Exactly. Oh, I love that. I love that. What if it does work out?
What if it does work out? That's the question to dwell on, not the opposite. It's like, think about what can happen with your side hustle. Like, what if it does work out? You could be Victoria Beckham. Who knows? It could be anything that you want. It's so driven by you.
So I'm having you on for to talk about 5 different topics already. I'm ready for this. This is gonna be. I should have a monthly show with Susie.
I love it. Yeah.
So, while not everyone necessarily wants to do their jewelry business full time, a lot of people have a dream or passion of quitting their job and doing it full time. I know that was my dream when I started. That was my only vision. I never thought I would work for someone else as a jewelry designer or maker. I always knew that I would have my own company. So do you have any tips or suggestions on sort of how to launch that, how to get it going, how to know when it's time?
So to know when it's time to make a transition?
Yes.
Yeah. I get asked this a lot, and I think it's a really juicy question. So number one, you never have to. So some people are side hustlers forever, and that is really cool. I know one of the guys who I've coached, he has a great job, and his side hustle is just largely for pleasure. He does get paid nicely for it, but he actually helps graduates become really polished in interviews.
Oh, great.
Because he thinks that millennials have some stuff to learn, when it comes to being hungry. But he's in a great industry, and he just likes doing it, in the evenings, at the weekends when it suits him. So you can always have a side hustle as a side hustle forever. And that's lovely. If you do want to make a transition, I think that almost you don't decide when, it chooses for you, right? It kind of chooses for you. In fact, when I was, before I made my transition, I had a date in mind. I was like, I'm going to do it this spring because that's a great time. The weather's good, and I'll feel like I want to get out. But before that, I was in Australia the October prior. And I spent 3 weeks there, and I was with my best friend who really believes in me. And we were just chatting, and I said, so much has happened this year. I turned 30 that year. And she was like, I think you should just quit. You're so ready. It'll work out. It always does, blah, blah. And so I felt kind of inspired. And then I got back to work, and my account director managed my accounts. He said to me, I'm really sorry, there's actually been a big cancellation. One of your clients canceled because of a technical, like a product feature. Yeah. And so I would have lost what would have been a big commission check, right? So which I was waiting for. Yeah. And I was like, I'm out. It's over. I'm out. Out skis, baby. Boom. But truly, I was like, well, I've been thinking about it. And also that kind of March date in my mind, it was kind of made up by me. And I wonder if I would have stuck with it. I wonder if I'd have been like, oh, one more check, one more quarter. Yeah. So it just chose me. Around that time, my side hustle was infringing upon my job a lot in terms of because I write for places like McLaren Business Insider. I've had the fortune of interviewing some pretty cool people like Ariana Huffington and Sarah Blakely. Awesome. And I had to reschedule. I missed out on interviewing Lena Dunham, which I was really bummed out.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
Yeah, when her book came out, Not That Kind of Girl, which is a great book, I was speaking to her publicist at Random House, and because my boss called a mandatory meeting, which he later cancelled, I had to reschedule my interview with her, and I just couldn't get her again. So these things were kind of all happening, and then it was just decided for me. So I've noticed this happen more and more when people are like, I got a big order, time to quit, or I have to travel to speak somewhere, or I have to go somewhere for this or that. And it's like, it's time, it chooses you. You don't even necessarily need to plan it, I don't think. I think it just the law of supply demand of the universe, what demands your time, it does choose you.
That is awesome. Well, Susie, this has been amazing. I'm excited to have you on again. I'm just like putting it out into the universe.
I love it.
I love it too. So you have some exciting things going on. I want to hear a little bit more about your book, because I love it. I love the title. What if it does work out? Amazing. And then I also want to hear a little bit more about where everyone can find you. They want to learn more.
Yes. So my book is available on pre-order now, and the official release date is November 15th. So it's an excellent book to get for a holiday gift, or for yourself, really considering the new year. And there is so much juicy stuff in the book, actual stories, lots of interviews with CEOs, learning their productivity hacks and how they get more done with less time. I've also included my Skill Distiller formula, so you really understand your strengths. It's a massive confidence boosting book too, because a lot about people who have succeeded when they shouldn't have, right? So people who don't have qualifications, who don't really come from like a place where they've had the best resources, and they've just hustled their way through to whatever success that they wanted to accomplish. So there's plenty of juicy advice in there and very actionable steps. I even include my script. So how to pitch an editor.
Oh my gosh. Client. Amazing. I'm buying it for all of our mastermind students.
So it's like a done for you get started guide, which I think is pretty cool. And everything else, in terms of the release and all the other cool freebies and bits and bobs that come along with that, it can be found if you sign up for my newsletter at Susie, SUSIE-more, MOORE.com. If you join my list, you're the first to know about my product releases and the cool programs I'm working on, and of course my book release, all the really cool fun stuff around that in November.
Awesome. Susie, thank you so much for being here, and I'll be sure to include all of that in the show notes, all the links and everything to all of that stuff. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Wonderful speaking with you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening today. Wasn't Susie awesome? I just love her. If you haven't done it yet, make sure that you head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/whatify if you are an Etsy seller. And all the links and stuff that we mentioned on the podcast today will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, this is Tracy Matthews signing off.